There's times that the Holy Spirit told me to do something for someone, and I procrastinated for quite some time. But then when it did happen, it was more than I could think or ask or imagine results that came from it. So this is God set aside, appointed.
I think so.
Yes. I just feel if I can help somebody else in anything I've done through my lifetime, it's well worth it.
Well, I don't know. She's a special lady. And she strives to do everything perfect. Of course, we're none of us perfect. She's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's mighty nice of you.
Is he normally that nice?
Yeah. He is pretty good. He has his days. I do too. So it's okay.
Yeah, I remember way back when she first got the Holy Spirit, and then neither one of us went to church very often. And then that one time she came home and she said, "We're going to have to pray." She got to say that's when she got the Holy Spirit, you know. And I'll never forget that. Yeah, she said, well, she said, "We're going to have to kneel down here. We're going to have to pray." And I didn't know what to think because we never did pray together. Never even, all we did was just go to church together and sit in a pew and listen. But that one day that, when that happened, then she changed completely and hasn't been the same since.
Nope.
Yeah.
Did it change you some?
Yeah. Kept me out of the bars.
I didn't know you was that bad.
Well, I wasn't that bad. I just used to go every once in a while, and she kind of got on me a little bit for it, so I quit. And used to keep beer in the refrigerator way back, and quit doing that. Quit drinking completely, just about, you know. Well, I do know when she told me when I was going up to Steiner's every day, almost every day after work, you know, and drinking a few beers, and then I'd come home. And she said, "You're becoming nothing but an alcoholic." And I said, "You're crazy. I'm not no alcoholic." So I said, "I'll just show you." So I got off work the next day. I came home and I stayed home. But boy, I wanted to go get a beer so bad I couldn't stand it, but I wouldn't do it. And then finally I got over that craving for it. And if she hadn't said what she said, I would have probably still been that way today, you know, because I can see where that craving is when you're an alcoholic, because I was on my way, you know.
Well, I'm trying to think about this when he was talking about when the Holy Spirit touched me the first time. I remember it's like we was going to, we had gone to a lay witness thing at our church, Graceland, and the preacher said, "You can give your 100%. You can give 95, but it's not like giving your 100%. And I don't think I had ever done that. And we'd been a churchgoer for 6 years, Bill and I, as far as going. And after that 6 years, that's when this was. And I'm making blubber. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Friday night, I got beside my bed and I kneeled and prayed and asked God to use me, that I give him my 100%, not 90 or 95, but 100%. And just so happened, when I got ready to go to bed that night, Bill was laying in the bed, and I said, all of a sudden this inner voice came and said, "Say the prayer with Bill." Well, we've been going to church for 6 years, and we had never really prayed together. It was kind of like a wall that kept us separate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And anyway, said, "Say the prayer with him." And I said, "Oh, I can't do that. He'll make fun of me." He said, "Well, God said, well, you just said that you didn't make any difference what other people thought. It only mattered what I thought." So then I mustered up this courage to say the prayer with him. And when I did, that's when heaven came down and glory filled my soul. I wasn't the same after that. I had freedom to be able to speak in that respect. And next day, the grass was greener, the sky was bluer, and hadn't been the same since.
Well, I really don't know, to tell you the truth. It's a whole lot of trial and error, I know that.
But I was trying to think for the younger people, if I had to give any kind of advice, I just know what a difference it made in my life with my children when I was younger, how important it was to be a good mother and a good wife. And I didn't know a lot of that, how to be either one, because both of us came from, both of our dads were alcoholics. And so we did not get an example of what a good family marriage would be, or husband or wife, or to be a good parent. And so I remember going to the library and getting books after books, reading, attending anything at church that they had pertaining to the family, and what a difference it made. And one thing I would tell the younger generation parents is that phone that stays in your pocket all the time sometimes needs to stay and turned off, especially when you have mealtime or when your children are there and you're under your feet and want to talk to you, and your girlfriend's called and she just wants to talk. Tell her you'll call her back. Spend that time with your child. So important. We live and learn.
I worked at Pillsbury 42 years.
And worked hard.
Yeah, first 10, 15 years was pretty rough. And then a lot of automation came in, you know, it wasn't as hot, near as hard. And then, of course, when you build up seniority, you can get better jobs. Yeah, it was a good place to work, and a lot of friends over there. And then they closed the plant down about 3 or 4 years ago, and still miss the people you worked with all them years, you know. But so many of them has passed away that about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, for 3 weeks in a row there, I went to 3 different funerals where people had passed away over there, you know. And out of the last couple of years, there's been a lot of them passed away, you know. And it's just like the man across the street. He's almost 98 years old, and he said they spend most of their time going to the funeral homes and going to church and the funeral homes, you know. And he said that was about their pastime anymore, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you?
81.
He does really well to be 81.
Yeah.
How old are you?
Women don't tell their age.
62.
Sure, that sounds good. We're good. I can.
Go ahead.
You have one?
I can't think of it right offhand.
Okay.
If you think of one, come back to it, okay?
A friend, a guy he worked with, his wife had an accident at work and broke both her ankles. And I didn't know her very well. I just knew of her because of them working together. But anyway, one day the Holy Spirit spoke to me to call her and ask her if I could take lunch to her. Well, I'm not the best cook, so I was just going to get her some fast food to take to her. So I called her up and nobody answered, and I thought, oh, great. I left her a message, told her who I was and what I was going to do. And I thought, oh, good, she didn't answer, so I won't have to do that, because I didn't want to anyway. And just so happened, she called back less than half an hour, and she said, we were out to the doctor's. He took me to the doctor today. But yes, I would love for you to come by. And I'm thinking, okay. So then I told her what I was going to do, get her lunch. And I went to, as I was going to get her lunch, I got her a little present, going to get her lunch and go see her. Well, I was going down Charlestown Road, and on the corner of McDonald Lane, there was 2 guys that were selling flowers. And I thought, well, I could get her some flowers too. And I'm thinking, well, if they looked like they were cleaning up, and I thought, well, if they're still there when I come back, after getting the food, then I'll just stop. So I got the food, come back around McDonald Lane, and all of a sudden I passed them up, and the inner voice said, you said if they were still there, you were going to stop. So what I did, I pulled in somebody's drive, turned around, went back. And when I went back, I said, sir, how much are your flowers? He said, ma'am, this is your lucky day. We're closing up and you can have all you want. I got so excited. I was like a kid in a candy shop. It was having so much fun. And I took so many flowers. But I got to the lady's house and I told her what a pleasant surprise we had because I had no idea that. But if I hadn't listened to that inner voice, I would have missed every bit of that. So when we sat there and we prayed, and I thank God for that pleasant surprise. But see, it pays to listen. Okay, and the rest of it is we sat and had lunch, enjoyed each other's company. I felt very good. I went home that evening, and I had this big bouquet of flowers. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so.
Great big bouquet of flowers on my dining room table. And he wanted to know where I got them, and I just pointed. The man gave them. No, I said some man gave them to me. That's what I said. But that was one of the highlights, that I listened to that inner voice that said, you said if they were still there, you would turn, you would stop, and I almost missed it.
Alan's the oldest one. He just turned 60. And Kim, the oldest girl, she just turned 59. And the youngest boy, he just turned 55. And the youngest girl just turned 54.
Mm-hmm.
So we had two the first 2 years, then we waited 4 years and had two more.
In 6 years, we had 4 children.
Yeah.
We're very active.
Yeah.
The children were very active.
That's the way it sounded, though.
Oh, okay, we'll move on.
I know I had to work a lot.
Yeah.
I worked by the hour, so I had to put in a lot of hours to pay the bills and the house payment and the groceries. And once a year we go on vacation, most of the time to Florida. And it took quite a bit just to do that. When you stop at a restaurant to eat and there's 6 of you, it takes quite a bit.
And back then it was cheap.
Yeah.
It's not now.
Yeah.
I loved it. I did want 6 children and ended up getting 4. And no, we loved it. I just stayed busy with them, took them to the library. I did a lot of things with them that didn't cost money. It just took our time, which was wonderful. And the library was one of the best places then. Nowadays, people probably don't use it as much. But back then, we used it. The kids had activities there. They had plays, like puppet shows for them. But we would go and they'd get their little books and they'd go home. And they'd be sitting in the back seat, all of them with their books, reading them, doing different things. It was just fun.
And you made their girls' clothes.
Yeah, did sewing for them. Did a lot of things. I just loved it. I loved being a mom. And I loved being a good mom if possible. The teenage years was a rocky road. Oh my, up and down. 4 of them at one time, 13 to 19. 4 teenagers.
And we lived in this one little house, 3 little bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
For all of us.
And the only time you could go to the bathroom without any interruptions, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
We had some pretty good times. Steve, our youngest boy, he got him a newspaper route, and he rode his bicycle and delivered newspapers, and he spent his money on some of it on us, and then he'd collect coins and stuff, But, and then Alan, the oldest one, when he got into high school, he got in quite a few fights, And I got on him about it, and he said, "Dad," he said, "I have never started a fight." He said, "They come to me." He said, "I don't start them." And but I know one day I come home from work, and he was sitting in there in the living room, and I went and I walked through the house, and I went in the kitchen. I told her, I said, "Alan looks like he's crying in there." She said, "He probably is. He thinks he just killed a boy down the street." What it is, they got in a fight. He told that boy when they got off school that day he wanted to meet him. They meet down on the curve there on McDonald Lane, and they were going to settle it. And they did, and Alan, I guess, gave him a good shot, and he he really did thought he killed him, because when I come home, he was about crying, because he thought he really hurt him bad. And but that boy was on him every day, just
Teasing him.
yeah, just ribbing him every day on him, And Alan just got tired of it, And then so I told Janice, I said, well, I guess I'll just sit here and wait for that boy's dad to come down here, because that's probably what's going to happen. But his dad never did show up. But he never did get on Alan anymore after that. They became friends after that. But that boy went back to school the next day, and he had a big old shiner on his eye, But
it wasn't easy raising teenagers. That was the harder part, really. Each one of them was so different, so unique. And what you had to do for one, you couldn't do for the other, or vice versa. And it was ups and downs. I wish I could pinpoint, but I don't like to tell all the bad, so we'll just go with it. That's life. We've had one that's had a really struggle in life, our youngest. And we've made it through that. Yeah. By God's grace, we've made it through the struggles.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy road, that's for sure.
Mm-mm. We just like to point out the good. I guess the Bible, where it said, Philippians 4:8, think on the good, that's what I strive to do. Think on the good things. See the good in people. See the good in what you can do rather than what they did. And one of my things is my old youngest daughter asked me maybe a couple weeks ago. And she asked me, she said, what would be 3 things of advice you would give me? And right off, without hesitation, I said the first one is to keep focused on Christ and read your Bible daily. The second one would be to treat others like you want to be treated. And the third would be forgive and forget. And every one of them's got scripture behind them. And that, to me, that's what I would tell anybody. Keep focused on Christ through the thick and the thin.
She about said it all. Yeah.
And one of them would be Kim.
Yeah.
Tell me a story about Kim.
Oh, gosh. Well, she'd come home from a date, and she would actually ask her brother if he'd go to the White Castle with her, because her date didn't like White Castles, and she did. So her brother would take her to the White Castle. That was one funny story about her.
Yeah.
She's always been a good young lady, helpful and very good in many ways. She did date one person that she thought he acted like her dad, and she didn't like him. And she found out later on he was better than some of the other guys. So, yeah.
What's her personality? Describe her personality.
Very bubbly, ray of sunshine. She's a ray of sunshine to us. When she comes in the room, she's made a difference. She just is a bubbly person and always willing to help others. Yeah.
Well, she's just like she said. And she's always there to help anybody she can help, and she'll do anything she can for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can't beat her. She's just that good,
But most of our children are like that. They're very good about helping other people.
Yeah. Well, Steve was like the third child, and he was always a good kid, and he did good in school, and he got him a job doing a paper route, riding his bicycle and delivering papers, and I remember he spent his money on us clock radio one time.
Anniversary gift.
For an anniversary, and he was just 11 or 12 years old or something.
Rode his bicycle to the place and saved his money to get us a gift.
And he was always one that would put together model airplanes, model cars. He loved doing that kind of stuff, always using his hands, putting things together. Mm-hmm. And then later on, after he graduated out of high school, he joined the Navy, or the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And then he got into working on planes, doing what they call working on the engines, plane engines and stuff, and putting stuff together in the Air Force. So he's really good with his hands, and he did good in there. And he spent 4 years in the Air Force. And then when he came out, he worked as an EMT on an ambulance. He's a pretty smart kid.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and he does a lot of mechanic work, of his own stuff. And then he went to work at Pillsbury, where I worked. And the oldest boy did too. They both went to work at Pillsbury. And they both put in about 20 years over there. And that's when they shut the plant down. So, you know.
But both of our boys, Alan and Steve, went in the service. Alan went in the Navy. Steve went in the Air Force. And because of them having a service background, when Pillsbury was hiring people, they got to be on the list first because of their military. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able, they take them first. Did you know that? Yeah. If you're in the military, then if you go to get a job, nowadays it's not like that, I'm sure, probably.
I think because when they hire people out of the service, they figure they were
pretty disciplined.
Yeah.
Anyway, Karen has been very helpful. The last few years I've been sick. This past year she should live with us. And she's helped me tremendously in a lot of ways. Helpfully. I mean, more than I can imagine.
Well, she's more rowdy than the rest of them, And she's had her struggles more than the rest of them. And but she seems like she's trying to get her act together now and doing better.
How does that make you feel?
I feel better about her now than, because we didn't really know earlier on how she was really going to do, because she was going through a hard time, Been ups and downs with all of them, but more exceptionally her,
That's been our, growing and learning, and we've learned a lot. We could probably write a book on her.
But I know other families got people that work at Pillsbury. I know other families over there that probably had it a lot worse than what we've had it, Because I know a couple of guys over there that their daughters married and had kids, and then they raised their grandkids. And he couldn't retire because he had to raise his grandkids, and he had to work a lot further on down the road than what he wanted to work. But he couldn't retire, But I was fortunate that I did get out of there,
Karen's been here without a doubt more than any of the rest. And the rest would be here, but Karen has the opportunity. She doesn't work. So she's able to be here for us and has waited on us when necessary and been super, super. She should have been in the medical field. She's that good with helping people. Very sensitive to elderly people, whenever they have needs. She's watched a few of her elderly friends die, which was very hard on her. Yeah. Karen has a very soft heart. Very soft toward people. We got 4 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
Well, they're all loved, that's for sure, and all of them are good kids. Grandkids are all really smart kids, well educated, and they're just smart. And they usually help us whenever they can and come around. And then the great-grandkids, they're just a big bundle of joy when they're here, You just love them to pieces, Yeah. You can't beat them.
But they're kids. The kids they're still kids. They do a lot of onion things.
Well, I just want you to know I done the best I could, and probably wasn't good enough, but that was the best I could do,
For what we knew to do to help. But what advice would we give them?
Yeah.
Put Christ first.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, put God first in your life, regardless of what others come. What happens, what people say about you, or what people do, put Christ first in your life. And it's a learning experience with each one of them, because each one of them has the opportunity, or that's what I call a problem, opportunity. And when they have that situation, we have that chance to sit with them, talk with them, relate the problem, rather than to just ignore it and go on. And just like with our Bella, we had the same thing with the little girl. Her and the little girl got into it, but her mom and her grandmother was able to talk with her and let her know how important it is to be able to be a little Christian girl, to be able to see a different side of that person, rather than want to be mean or pay back or do something like that. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
she's right on. She's telling it straight up. You know, that's what you've got to do, I guess. You know, because that's what the Bible says. Put Christ first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
it's made a difference. Putting Christ first in our life has made a difference in our children, in our marriage. We've had struggles through our marriage, like anybody, but we took that divorce word out of our vocabulary, and we didn't even think twice about it. We just strived to be the best we could for each other and for our family.
Mm-hmm.
Struggles and all.
I really can't.
I'm thinking, don't chase the dollar. Don't try to make so much money.
Yeah.
Spend time with your family. It's so important.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of things that don't cost money, and that would save you money.
Yeah.
A lot of times nowadays, people go out to eat meals, very expensive, where you can have a picnic and go to the park. That's a fun time. A lot of things you can do with your children that doesn't require money, so that means you don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, and I used to take Lance, our oldest grandson, me and him would go fishing down at Patoka Lake. I had a camp down there, and we'd go down there and stay down there for a while. I'd take him fishing and come back, and we'd fix a fire out in the front yard and roast weenies and hot dogs and marshmallows and stuff, you know, and it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was only like 10, 11 years old back then, you know. That was like 25 years ago, somewhere in there. And but you think back at a lot of the good times you have with them, you know.
Okay, I would say with the guys or the men that are earning for the family, to try to spend more time with your children rather than earn all that money. And you can do activities that doesn't cost you a whole lot. You don't have to eat out all the time. Make some picnic lunches, something that is of value to the child or whatever their interest is. You know, fishing, if it may be fishing. I know our son-in-law does that right now, Seth, and he takes Aiden fishing, which he dearly loves it. That's what I see, spending time with your family. And if we had it to do over, we all would have do something different, but we don't have it, so we can pass that on.
It wasn't easy. Of course, when we first started out, earlier on, we didn't have very little. We rented a house, and we didn't have much money. We was borrowing money from her dad almost once a week. We'd borrow like $10 or $15 every week just to try to get by, and it was kind of rough. And then later on, when the work opened up, and I got to work more. Well, the more I worked, the more I made. And I was working all I could because I knew it took a lot, and I wasn't used to having a lot. So, and then later on, through all the years, kids thought I had worked too much, you know, because I was gone a lot, and she was raising them, and I was gone a lot, you know. So, and they kind of let me know,
resented it.
Yeah, that I did work too much, but I did. But we wouldn't have what we got if I hadn't have. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was I have to say, he was a good worker.
Yeah.
And provider.
But on Saturdays and Sundays, Saturdays was time and a half, Sundays was double time. Well, I worked about a lot of Saturdays and a lot of Sundays. Mm-hmm. You know, I would average the last 10 years I worked, I probably averaged 65, 70 hours a week on the average, if you average it out for the whole year. Yeah, if I had to do over, I probably would have cut back, not a whole lot, but I would have cut back some. And I would have done things a lot different. Of course, hindsight's, you know, you can't take it back. You know, Can't go back. You only got one shot of going around, that's it. You know, and then you look back and say, well, I wish I'd have done this and done that, but it's too late. You can't. And
with our children now, it's like we try to, I don't want to say make up the difference, but we recognize the difference, and we strive to enjoy them. When they come by to visit, we're all eager to see them. We want to spend time with them. Yeah.
And we had some elderly neighbors that lived next door to us, Fred and Jakey, and they were up in their 70s. And that was a long time ago. And they told us that if you all can, if you have to borrow the money to go on a vacation, borrow the money and do that. She said, they didn't do that. And they saved their money. She said, we have plenty of money now. And we can't spend it because we're not able. She was going blind, and he had arthritis so bad in his legs he couldn't hardly walk. And she said, you kids need to enjoy it and do what you can now, because later on you may not be able to.
And we went on vacations every year, had a wonderful time. I mean, it was kind of like, what's that, Wally World vacation?
Before they had that green van and the grandma set up on top. Well, we had one of them vans just exactly like that. It was a 71 Ford Country Squire station wagon.
But the grandma didn't sit on top. She sat inside.
Mom said, she went with us a lot of times, and she would go with us. Yeah.
The whole family, 6 of us, plus the mother-in-law, or the mother. But we didn't have an animal to take with us, so.
Yeah.
But we had good times. Because it's not all sugar-coated. But these are things we hadn't even thought about, had we?
Yeah.
But when you said Alan gets in a lot of fights, I don't remember.
Well, he used to back there, yeah.
See, I don't remember.
In junior high school and in high school.
Yeah, I didn't remember all that.
Yeah. He said even one of the guys came up to him, and there was always one tough guy in school. He said this boy come up to him and said, Alan, you think you could whoop so-and-so? Alan said, well, if I had to, I probably could. Well, this boy goes and tells that tough guy that Alan can whip him. Well, that guy jumps Alan, and this was in high school, up in New Albany High School. So this guy come and jumped Alan from behind. Well, Alan, pretty athletic. You know, he took wrestling and played football and basketball. He done everything. Well, Alan just threw him down on the floor and got on top of him and just held him there. Well, the teacher came out and got him up, and the teacher finally figured out what really happened. So they suspended that boy that Alan threw down, and Alan didn't get suspended. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know, kids don't understand where we come from. And when we were growing up, we didn't have very little. When we started out, we just rented a place over there in Louisville, because I worked in Louisville at that time. And they don't understand where we come from, because we didn't have very much. And then when the opportunity come to get ahead, it took a lot of work to get ahead. And so that's what I done. I jumped on it. And I did. I worked a lot of hours for a lot of years. And I did probably neglect home life some. And but they still don't realize that. You know, they can't look back and see where I come from and how I had an opportunity to get ahead a little bit, so I did. And which I probably shouldn't have done it as much as I did, but that's
it's hard to turn down.
Yeah, it's hard to turn down if you're working for, say, $30 an hour. Then Sunday comes along and you can get $60 an hour.
Did you make that much money?
Yeah. And the last few years I did, and I started out $1.25 an hour, started out over in 58, over on Broadway in Louisville, in Pillsbury. That's when I started over there in 1958. Well, I think it was like $1.30 or 35 cents an hour, something like that. And then it finally, up in later years, it did get up to close to $30 an hour. And then when the opportunity comes along, you can work Saturdays for time and a half. And then you work Sundays for double time. You know, I figured I could work Saturday and Sunday and take a day off through the week if I wanted to, you know, cut down a straight time day instead of turning down a time and a half and double. And
so nobody just gave you that?
No, you know, nothing was handed down, you know, just everything we had, we worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And but she did a really good job taking care of the home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's because I had a lot of support.
Yeah, but when the kids were real little, and that back then it was all cloth. You didn't have throwaway diapers; they were all cloth diapers, you know. And she would hang all with clotheslines out in the backyard. She would fill them clotheslines up completely full with diapers. Well, one of the women came by and wanted to know if she was taking in washing. You know, she was going to get Janice to wash her clothes for her, but Janice said, no, them are our clothes and diapers, you know. But, and there was a lot of work on her back then, too. A lot. She probably worked harder than I did.
You think? It's an opportunity.
After I look back at it, I think you did, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not being that. That's part of life with our journey. Learning from each other, growing with each other. I can't imagine not wanting to be part of an adult, to be able to do the part. A lot of people don't like to cook anymore. Did you notice that?
Well, you know, when I was talking about where we come from, but look where my grandparents and my mom and dad come from. You know, my grandparents was back in the 1800s. Mom and dad was like 1912, 1917 when they were born, you know. But their parents, my grandparents, they were back like 1870. And look how hard they had it.
Oh, yeah.
They really had it hard because they didn't have fuel like they got now, gas and oil and stuff. They burned wood, and lucky if they could get coal, but most of the time they had wood. They'd have chopped wood to make just for the heat in the wintertime. I used to stay at my grandparents this was in the 40s. I'd stay at my grandparents, and they didn't even have running water. You had to go to a well and carry the water. Didn't have electricity. All they had was a coal oil lamp at night, but no radio unless it was a battery radio. You know, and they have people, I think back how they lived, they had it hard compared, and we thought we had it hard, but they really had it hard compared to what we had it, you know. And it was a rough life back my grandparents' days, you know. Well, I would get out of school when I was like first, second, third grade. I'd go to my grandparents. This is in the 40s. I'd go to my grandparents and stay for 2 or 3 weeks, you know, and that was with no inside bathroom, outside toilets, and they had fruit trees, apple trees, and plum trees, and cherry trees and stuff that they would can all that stuff. And my grandmother really let me have it if I didn't walk the line sometimes. I'd get them on them apple trees or something, and she'd come out there and she'd say, Billie Jean, get your tail end out of there. I got my tail end out of there because I knew if I didn't, she was going to wayloo me. And she was strict, you know. But like today, you can't be that strict today on the kids. That's the reason a whole lot of kids turn out the way they're turning out, I think, because they're not disciplined enough. But when your grandparent, well, Dad was the same way. If they told me to do something, I didn't do it, I got to switch, you know. And my grandmother, she didn't hold back either. If I didn't walk the line with her, you know, when she said something, she meant it. And I loved that woman to death, you know.
I'm blank. I'm just fascinated that he's sharing all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's the reality, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. 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 I can't hardly relate to the younger people because I don't live in their world and what they're doing. But I can just see like our past, what we've had to be through, what we've went through and grown. Yeah. But it has been a journey for each of us. And without God, we couldn't have made it in our family and our marriage. That's one thing what we do, yeah, lay in bed at night and just hold hands and pray for our family, which is something we didn't get to do when we first got married. I didn't know how to do until we learned. Yeah.
Boy next door over here, he asked me one time, he asked me how long we've been married, and I told him, you know, and he said, what do you contribute to a long marriage? I said, well, I can tell you one thing, work a lot of overtime. Then she got on me for telling him that.
I said, this young boy was wanting some advice. He was getting ready to get married, and he really wanted to know some of the secrets to help him. He gave him the wrong advice. But something I would say for young people, and I've shared this before, is whenever you, instead of picking each other apart, pick out the good and recognize that. It's so important. Yeah.
What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, she's telling him right, I guess, you know. Yeah, you got to look at the good side. It's not all bad.
But
The bad shows up a lot easier than the good. But
yeah.
but you got to.
But we live and learn every day, and that's part of life. And every day some can be some struggles, but it's who we trust and put our time into, like with God helping us, we couldn't have made it. No way, shape, nor form. Even with my health, there's no way. If it wasn't for God and people that prayed for us, it's made a big difference.
Well, we used to, but
After so many years, you kind of learn to go with the flow.
yeah,
You kind of overlook some things that would have bothered you years ago. Simple little things that don't amount to anything.
yeah, we haven't had a full-blown argument for 50 years, probably.
It's been that long. It's been a long time. We're more aware of our age, our time together, our family. When you get older, I think you have a different focus on life a lot.
Yeah.
Things we can't do, we spend more time together. I just believe in giving. I think it's so important to tithe, which it took us a long time to learn that kind of.
Yeah.
And then once we did, what a difference it made in our lives. But I was thinking of this story, and I don't know if it's will be of any help to you or not. But I had a friend here one day, and a young lady, and she was getting ready to leave, and I said, "Oh, I'd like to pay for your lunch today," when she was going to lunch. And she said, "Oh, no, 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 I can't take your money." And I said, "Oh, no, you can't deprive me of my blessing. I want to bless you." I said, Brother Markham at Graceland, I said, what he used to say is, I've taught people how to give, but I never taught them how to receive. And that was because once he had a heart attack, and he had to learn to receive from people. He couldn't work or do some of the things, so he had to learn to receive. And that's kind of like what this was here. She couldn't receive anything. And I said, it's so much easier to give, but we have a hard time when someone wants to give us something. And I've had to deal with this in the last few years of having to be humbled enough to receive a blessing from other people. So anyway, I talked her into taking the money. And I said, listen, God blesses us. We just give it out, and he just pours it back in. It's like it comes in this way and goes out that way. And so before she could even leave my house, there come a car in the driveway, and a lady knocked on my door, and there was a big bouquet of flowers she had brought to me. It's kind of like God showed her, you just give it out, and it comes back. You just are blessed. There's just no getting over it. And I think that's one of the secret to life is Luke 6:38, when it said, "Give and it shall be given to you, pressed down, shaken over, and you're running over." Mm-hmm. So I just love the fact that we can give.
If I didn't know you better, I think Bill's kind of sweet on you.
He is. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
What do you think of Janice?
Well, once you've had the best, you can't do any better. So if anything happens to her, I'm not even going to think about another one.
I told him I want him to be happy.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do.
Somebody take good care of him.
Yeah, it's a choice, that's for sure. You gotta, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we get real serious. And sometimes we're nice to each other.
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while.
We bought a camp down in Patoka back in '91. And we used to go down there quite a bit. But here the last few years, we haven't been going down near as much as we needed to. But kids and the grandkids now are, with granddaughter and her husband, they're enjoying it now because they've got it now. We sold it to them. And so they're having their fun with it. We had all our years down there with it. We was down there for 30. We had it for 30 years, and I hope they have it for another 30.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Do you tinker in the garage some?
A little bit, not a whole lot. Just Yeah.
Goes out to breakfast.
Yeah, I go out to breakfast once a week.
Yeah.
With the guys I used to work with, we still go out on Wednesday. Thursdays now. It used to be Wednesdays, and then we changed it to Thursdays because what she was going through in her Bible study on Wednesdays, a lot of times I'd have to take her to Bible study and then go back and get her. Well, we changed our breakfast to Thursday now, and so that frees me up with her on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anywhere from 6 to 7 of us go to breakfast every Thursday, and we go to Cracker Barrel in Corden or the Cracker Barrel up here in Sellersburg, and we go to the Home Plate over in Brandenburg. And that's probably where we'll go this Thursday, be the Home Plate in Brandenburg, you know. And then sometimes we go down here to the nice restaurant down here on Blackston Mill. But we just go to different places, and a couple of the guys live in Brandenburg. And so we just take turns going back and forth down there, and then they'll come up here, you know. And,
Do you have any hobbies you do? Or anything?
Yes, every Wednesday Bible study, Graceland. We have in the corner room. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but we have, it's interdenominational, and I love it. I love the fellowship. I love the Bible study. I love every bit of it. And it's something, I have part of it. So that keeps me going, helping out and doing my part.
yeah, and there's a lot of birthdays rolls around. She always gets on me she'll say,
Oh, yes.
that's about every week at least.
Almost every other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do with the birthday?
She gets the phone and she'll call it. She said, today's so-and-so's birthday, you got to call them. And so she'll want me to get the guitar, and she'll dial the phone, hold the phone, and I'll just play the guitar and sing. You've heard of that Randy Atcher birthday song? It's
Sing
like,
it.
happy, happy birthday, may all your dreams come true. I know you've heard that.
Okay.
And he sings in happy birthday from both of us
yeah,
to you.
So you play the guitar?
Well, very little anymore. My fingers don't work like they used to. I don't know, just feel country stuff. I don't, hillbilly music,
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Good stuff. Where'd you learn how to play?
Just a couple of guys I used to run around with played, and I just run around with them and just learn from them.
Yeah, this one's good. I hold the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I wish we really had that on film because he's so good at it.
No.
And there's people that laugh at him. Women are so shocked that a man would call him and sing to him. Sing to them.
Happy, happy birthday, may all your dreams come true. Happy, happy birthday from both of us to you. May you have happy birthdays now and your whole life through. Happy, happy birthday from both of us to you.
Yay.
I'll tell you what. Most songs I do know, I just can't remember them anymore,
Just have at it.
I don't know.
That's Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Do some Johnny Cash.
Well, I hear the train a-coming, rolling around the bend. Lord, I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. But that train keeps a moving, and that's what tortures me. Well, Mama said be a good boy. Now, son, don't play with guns, but I shot a man in Reno.
just to watch 'em die. That train keeps a moving. I hang my head and cry. That's enough.
Isn't that good? Yay!
I love it.
You better than I thought you were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good, honey.